What happened? They drew shock. All right. And then there was the standard challenge, right? Showcase challenge. So we play the same deck in the showcase challenge on MTGO. And we're going to need to speed this up quite a lot. That is the advantage of doing retrospectives, is that you get to speed up the gameplay. A little bit of a slow hand, but it is the mirror match on, and I obviously don't know it's a mirror match. This is round 1 of the tournament. But our hand is excellently set up for the mirror match. My only real concern is like turn 3 Liliana getting out of control. So I'm just going to play it as a 3-2 here. And I'm like, oh wait, it's not the mirror match. It's freaking domain, and we are dead. I'm thinking that I'm like, oh yeah, I'm looking pretty good here. Yeah. I'll just attack with my Fisher's Foundry. Yeah, and as you might imagine, things go south very fast. Do you think this tortoise hits? Nope. Nope. And yeah, this game goes from bad to worse. And up the beanstalk, because why not? I can Path of Peril the tokens away and go for a throw to the Awakened Skyclave, but it's not gonna end well for us. I think Cavern of Souls makes their mana worse, not better. Not really sure why people are concerned about Cavern of Souls. That deck's like, yeah. If you look at their mana base, they can't cut a Triome and they can't cut a basic, so they don't have room for Cavern of Souls. If they do, they play 1 or 2. I mean, I don't really have outs at this point. They have no blanks in their deck. They've stretched out all their basics. I can't beat anything. They can't have nothing, and I can't beat anything. So that game is done. So I board down a 2 Go for Throats, and I take out all my removal. And take out Shieldred because it sucks. Although I think I bring it back in because I'm like one source shy. A Path of Peril is there to kill enemy herd migrations. Obviously, we mulligan 6 landers. This hand, pretty good. Just gotta draw some lands, right? That shouldn't be too hard. Right, guys? That shouldn't be too hard. Oh, we drew some lands. Up the beanstalk, eh? Maybe they don't have a 3-drop and we just run them over with Outline Liberator. And Duress, okay. They take our Terror Sunder, which is terrifying. What you got up there, buddy? They have no play next turn, so our Liberator is going to flip. Then Frenzy Trapbreaker does its work. I tell you what, the two Outland Liberators we played in our deck, they were good. They were real good. One option we could have done is play Liliana and then plus discarded a land. But I think that's just the wrong method. They know we have a go for the threat. And I just want to be empty-handed for this Liliana. Because if they play Archangel and deal 2 damage to our Liliana, we can just minus and kill it anyways, right? I mean, the Liliana is not going to have any purpose. And I'm going to need lands to win the game afterwards, so... Like, if I didn't discard go for a throw last turn, I would need to do it this turn. So this way we just got a free lane out of it. We're in trouble. We're in trouble here if they drew an untapped, if they drew a 7th land. Because then they could angel. Actually, there weren't that many lands they could have drawn to double kick it, right? Because they didn't have a mountain. Yeah, they didn't have that many cards they could have drawn to double kick Archangel, so we were pretty safe. They should have actually probably pinged out my Liliana and not my Mouse or Dread Knight, but great draw. Seventh land and Breach. So a Breach, we can take their Atraxa and we can get probably either a Nissa or a Liliana or a Shieldred or whatever, right? So. And this is the power of Breach the Multiverse in the sideboard. It's for this matchup. Because this is a relatively common board state. You have 7 mana after they Sunfall. And that's a free win. Yeah, the Breach, like, this matchup is bad. And Breach the Multiverse is probably one of the best sideboard cards you can have against it, because you can actually Breach turn 5 or turn 6 relatively easily. You can only turn 5 if you have Iron Crag. But a turn 6 Breach is like pretty easy to do. Right? It just requires you to have a Tortoise. And you have a diversified permanent portfolio for Atraxa. So that's how you kind of want the post-sideboard games to go. You have a discard spell into a Planeswalker, and you have a Breach to finish them off after they Sunfall. That is... Unfortunately, that's usually only good enough to win one of the post-sideboard games. Enemy mulligans, I'm just like pumping the fist. Oh, by the way, I wanted to be clear that Outland Liberator soloed that last game, right? Outland Liberator killed both those up the beanstalks. Their Sunfall would have drawn at least 2 cards. And they could have gotten Leyline Binding off those cards. And we could have easily lost that game if it wasn't for Outland Liberator doing a lot of work. So what do you think is going to happen here? Oh, we drew a 3rd land. I was going to say we don't draw a 3rd land. But Leona minus, so they can't just like battle and attack it. Another Topiary Stomper, and like must be unreal nice. I think I actually punted this game, if I recall correctly. We'll do the math. I didn't do the math at the time, but drawing lands is not something we can do in this deck. Never draw lands. Lands are for scrubs and noobs. I think my out might have to be just Dreadnought into a land, right? There's no way I'm winning this game unless I draw another land. I could also Ren minus looking for a land and Duress. Those are both good options. I can Duress and then plus a Liana, and it's pretty unlikely they keep a land, right? So I think that's the play. We hit a land. Tortoise may miss, but Ren does not. So we Duress, and their hand is complete air. I'm over here thinking like, oh yeah, I'm gonna lose this game, and then I just Duress them, and their hand has nothing. Their hand is 3 blanks. Like, okay, well this seems like a winnable game now. I'm thinking their hand is like 2 lands Atraxa, and I'm dead. But no, it turns out their hand is 2 Terminates and a Wrath, and they just have nothing. They kill our Liliana here, which I think is actually incorrect. I think Ren is the real threat. Because our Liliana is not going to do a damn thing with them having Murex to make a token. But so we know they have Virtue of Persistence in their hand. So if we Nissa in plus, unless they draw a Terminate for our creature, they are going to be unable to kill it. And they could Leyline Binding. I have trouble because the Phyrexian mana on this is actually like painful to do on MTGO. You have to like click on your avatar first. This is my first time casting Nissa, so I have trouble casting it. You actually have to click your avatar twice first. If you try spending mana on it, it doesn't work. It's completely bizarre. But but it looks like they just drew air and they have Merrick's, so that's the air they drew, Invasion of Zendikar. So they're at 9 mana, but they can't activate Merrick's this turn, which is nice. And we have an active Nissa, which is also nice. And now we just need to find a way to finish the game before they top deck Atraxa, right? The thing is, they only have 3 Atraxas in their deck. So they're on like a 3 outer and a 45 card deck with like, 12 cyclers or something. It's not great odds. I know they have the Virtue in their hands, so I get rid of that. They top deck Duress, which I don't know why it's in their deck. This seems like the matchup where I don't think you don't want Duress versus Duress deck, right? The whole like against a Duress deck, you want to have good top decks, and Duress is not a good top deck. But this game is, relatively free from this point on. We just have an active Nissa, and our opponents, as long as they don't draw Atraxa, they're on 0 outers, right? So They top deck Sunfall, and they can make a Merrick's token, which makes me sad that I discarded Glissa the previous turn. Yeah, I used Liliana there, and I said that in the VOD. That like when I plus this Liliana, they're just gonna draw Sunfall, aren't they? And of course they drew Sunfall, but I don't. Maybe they thought I said non-creature artifact. I don't know why they did that, but now Liliana's on 6. And we get to Ultimate Liliana against Ramp, which is somewhat cool. And I don't. The thing is that, as you might imagine, the UI for this is it's not great. Like I can't even tell what the board state was beforehand. So like, I can't even figure out what I'm supposed to do here. I should have figured this out before ultimating it. I didn't know that I can't go back and see what the board state was beforehand. But I ended up figuring out, after like 2.5 minutes of thinking on how to ultimate this Liliana. I'm like, okay, look, as long as they have 6 lands, I don't think it matters. So as long as it can't top deck Herd Migration or Atraxa, I don't think it matters. So this is what I end up. This is what I change it into. And obviously they're dead. I think my Liliana was actually like the best possible Liliana, but it doesn't matter at this point. All right, so I went against Domain, a bad matchup. I'm feeling good about it. And then all right. On M lit, they're on Esper midrange. You can tell from Shattered Sanctum that they're on Esper midrange, so I already know what my opponent's playing from turn 1. I need to make sure my third land comes into play untapped, so I end up not duressing turn 1. It's not bad if we end up having to go through the dead end because we can like untap and Lord Skitter them, right? So if they end up having a wedding announcement, yeah, I'm dead. I mean, there's really, it is what it is. I think they're much more likely to play Rafine, which we beat by going Go for a Throat into Liliana. Well, I don't know if we beat it, but we at least answer it. Unfortunately, our hand is very awkward after this, because we basically need to draw 2 more lands. But, never have enough lands. There's 26 lands and an Ironcrag in the deck. It's possible that Ironcrag is worse than just another land. But I don't remember in this tournament if Ironcrag was actually ever better than a land. I don't think it was. And we run the lottery on like their hand is they have air. They're on nothing. I run the lottery on Mosswood Dreadnought. I'm like, okay, can I draw a land? Okay, I don't. Worst case scenario, I duress them. They have nothing. They're on lands. What is my Infinite of 5 mana Shieldred? It's good. That's why I play it. I don't plus Liliana because their hand has nothing anyways. And plus they would investigate if I discarded a creature, so. And of course, what do you think Esper Midrange does when they're empty-handed? When they're empty-handed. Of course they draw Rafine when they're empty-handed. They have no other option. No. And as you might imagine, when your opponent top decks Rafine when they're empty-handed, things do not go well. Yeah, it's because I cast Duress. You Duress, they have no cards in hand, and they top deck. They actually, in response to Duress, the actual last line of text is, then your opponent draws the best possible cards. There's simply no other way for any of that to shake out. So we're mostly concerned with Lilianas are bad, and we're mostly concerned with Wedding Announcement and Wandering Emperor and Rafine, right? Those are the only cards in their deck to do anything. And so Gix's Command and Path of Peril are both good against everything that I stated. Because the thing with Glissa is you play Glissa and then they have like Wedding Announcement or a Virtue. And so they have trump blockers for your Glissa. But then, so either Path of Peril or Gix's Command will generally clear out all the trump blockers. And then Glissa can attack and kill the enchantment. Because they don't play that much removal in their deck. They have like 4 Gopher Threads. Sometimes they have 3. Right? Once Glissa's in play, it's there. They have Wandering Emperor, of course, too. But hopefully you can Duress that or Pything Needle that or Extract the Truth that. So you trim a bunch on the top end. Because your win condition is mostly just Glissa, like Glissa attacking. That's it. I think Path of Peril is less necessary on the draw. So you can take those out. I think Gix's Command is better than Path of Peril on the play. Because you can play Gix's Command on turn 5 on the play to like kill their Shieldred and clear the way for your Glissa to kill them, right? And this is like just the perfect hand, basically. Where you have a Duress for their answer to Glissa, and you have a cut down to kill a Rafine, and then you just ride Glissa to victory. So this is just the ideal opener that you want. And plus they have a hand that, you know, doesn't do anything to Glissa. So I'm not going to cut down a Denex, so I just play my tap land to make sure if I draw a Tortoise, it'll always hit. So they play their Denex. We play our Glissa, and now our goal is just ride Glissa to victory. You know, they play Wedding Announcement. We could actually blow both Cut Down and Virtue and just kill the Wedding Announcement. That's what we wanted to do. They end up drawing Rafine. So, okay, well, change of plans. Change of plans. Now we actually like cut down the Rafine. Draw a card. Might as well just kill them both, because I'm going to do it at this point. You probably could have just killed Rafine first and then attacked and decided after we drew. But we were going to do this anyway, so. They don't have that many targets for Lockdwayne Sorin because most of their 2-drops have flash. They flash back their Denex. The Denex is all they have. I decide to not just kill it on attack and play Glissa. I mean, use Glissa and draw a card, and maybe we draw a spell we can play. But it was a very thrilling draw. So we can attack for 4, or we can just try to draw a spell, right? I think trying to draw a spell is a reasonable thing to be doing. And we ended up drawing one. Denex does cost 2, despite him costing 4 to return. His mana value is 2. I end up not killing Denex because he doesn't matter. So. And we need a mode to utilize on the Gix's Command anyways. If that's their play, we can just kill it. Like ideally, you want to save your Anoint for a Rafine or a Lord Skitter, right? I attack first, see if they chump. Pretty likely that they chump. Makes it so our Frillback resolves because they can't make disappear it. I should have played my land first. That was a mistake. Because they could have made disappeared, and then I wouldn't have green mana to kill that thing. So that was a mistake for sure. I don't make too many mistakes this tournament. I think my gameplay has really improved over the past couple years. I generally don't make gameplay errors, so I'm pretty proud of myself on that. Yeah, the old dreaded double wedding announcement. My plan is just to play the virtue, so that we can have Rafine and Glissa sighting side by side. As it was always meant to be. But this is a good example of what the green black's game plan is post sideboard. Well, I mean, just in general against Esper midrange, the game plan is play Glissa and attack with it every turn. Enemy doesn't like the thought of Rafines fighting for the good guys. So I think on the draw, we probably need to be more concerned about winning announcements. And Nissa is obviously like very bad on the draw. Pretty likely our opponent is going to have creatures in play when you play your Nissa. If you want to like play Nissa and minus it, then goodness gracious, everybody just like, how many times are we gonna have a slash profile for that? And I just spent a long time like considering how I want to sideboard. Bring out a tortoise and another disenchant on the draw in case they ended up going like flash 2-drop into winning announcement on the play. We can terrace under its second main phase. Shieldred's like kind of bad against them, but it's not that bad. I don't think I actually drew Pythie Needle a single time the whole tournament. So I couldn't profess on its usability. I brought it in against decks that had multiple activated abilities you wanted to stop, so I suspect it'll always be good to draw. This hand is weak against turn 3 Rafine, but I think it's good against almost everything else. Well, it's also weak against like Fairy Mastermind into like leaving open mana. But we pretend that doesn't happen. Never does that ever happen. It's bad against Lord Skitter, but it's like not too bad against Lord Skitter. Fairy Mastermind is not good news. Hopefully they play Wedding Announcement here. We can disenchant it, untap, kill that Fairy Mastermind, play a tap land. We're probably in a good spot. If they play Wedding Announcement here. If they do anything other than play Wedding Announcement, we are probably doomed. That's not Wedding Announcement. We are probably doomed. That is not the hope. Because now if they play Wedding Announcement, they get to attack for both their creatures, draw a card. Or God forbid they have Rafine. Yeah. 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 But yeah, I mean, you're on the draw. You're on the draw, and I don't think that hand was a mulligan hand. So it was like what? It was like Terra Sunder, Virtue, Blossoming Towards Four Lands. You like, it's so hard to justify mulliganing that hand. They have to go 2-drop into Rafine to make that hand bad. I mean, which is, obviously they can do that, but this game is pretty over. Our Tortoise can't miss because we have Riveteer's Outlook. I have Wandering Emperor when I block a 2/2 rat, so that's all she wrote. And that's the strength of Esper Midrange for you. Yeah, I mean, they just like, they have the nut draw, so you don't beat them. They have the Esper nut draw, so. If they have the Esper nut draw, a 6-card hand's not going to win anyways. So. This is the next round. Deserve Beachhead means they're soldiers. I don't think Esper Midrange plays a Deserve Beachhead. They play Seacrum Coast, right? So. We're 1-1 in the tournament at this point. Cool thing about doing this like retrospective is I can put it on ultra fast speed. So you don't there's fewer boring parts. Resolute reinforcements, they always have it. Oh, no, 2/2. I'm like, oh wait, well, they're not soldiers. I guess they're like blue-white tokens. And this is kind of an embarrassing game. So I'm not happy to show it to you. As this is one of the few times where I make egregious play errors this entire game. So part of it is because I had never practiced against blue-white tokens. I knew the deck list existed. I knew the deck list existed from the deck dump for Worlds or whatever. But I'd never practiced against it because no one plays the deck because it's so bad. And I didn't know what I was doing. So this game looks completely unlosable. Right? Completely unlosable. Like our opponent is stuck on 2 lands and we have 4 lands, going on 5 lands, and our hand is flooded with gash, right? We can't possibly lose this game. There's just no way we could conceive of losing this game. So I don't attack with Dread Knight because I'm playing ultra conservative. Because I know that if that Invasion of Segovia flips, I might be in trouble, right? And I wanted to have a blocker so they couldn't free kill my Liliana. It's at this point I realize this Shieldred sucks. Because it can only kill non-token creatures. And they don't have any non-token creatures. So I have a whole lot of 5-mana 4/5. They just guard another Invasion of Segovia. Oh, okay, well. You can play like Ironcrag into Shieldred, but that's like not great. Yeah, and again, I'm playing ultra conservative because I don't want them to flip this to Segovia because they're mana screwed. And I know like the whole joke behind that deck is you like play Segovia and then you can convoke out all the Virtue of Loyalties and then you get to untap and have mana open on your opponent's turn, right? So I ended up having 2 blockers here, which I really don't think is necessary. Liliana really doesn't matter, and they'd probably attack the invasion anyways. Did we flip Ironcrag? We did. Which ended up being a mistake. Because we needed the mana. Like, well, I can't play my Virtue of Persistence now. That was a mistake. It's at this point I realized that, boy, Liliana is not particularly good. I don't know why I'm like vomiting damage every turn trying to protect it. We have lots of options here. We can play Virtue, we can attack with Cottage, we can attack a Cottage and Foundry. I end up just attacking with these and leaving open Go for a Throat. So what do you think is going to happen here? We just had to make a wild guess. Wandering Emperor? Yes. Yes. Wandering Emperor is very good against us. I'm like, oh, yeah, that sucked. Yeah. Well done. This completely unlosable game started turning out to be very losable very fast. So I'm like, yeah, I could go for a throw to save my Cottage, but I think I'd rather draw a card off Dread Knight, and maybe if I draw a land, I can replay it. But I think I actually already played a land this turn. Yeah. So that made this play even worse. That Ironcrag turning into an artifact into a new equipment, it was really bad. I needed the mana that turn. So yeah. Remember how there was no possible way we could have lost this game? And we found the line? We found the line. By playing as poorly as possible, we drew a Gix's Command ineffective against our opponent's token army. Shieldred showing up when it doesn't matter again. We definitely clutched defeat from the jaws of victory. We also didn't go for throw a token for God knows what reason. Last turn. Oh, we didn't have the mana, that's right. Because Everflame was not Ironcrag. So yeah. Yeah. Yeah, Ironcrag no longer producing mana. Yeah, it was there were some mistakes made. One basic 3 ossifications deck building. That's right. Yep. Yep. So we draw Nissa, and they have no cards in hand. But we could Nissa our Shieldred back, our 2 black Shieldred. But they're at 3. And while they can't kill us this turn, they can just make a token with Wandering Emperor and then like Teferi it down. And even if we were to Nissa for 5 and then deal for a third token, they still had 4 tokens afterwards. So it was... I chose to make Ironcrag into the equipment, and boy, it cost me the game. It was not pleasant. A completely unlosable game. By the way, they were also at 3 life, and we missed like 6 damage with Monster Dread Knight not attacking. Protecting a Liliana that did nothing. It was an embarrassing defeat. So against tokens, we can bring in some Path of Perils. And I'm trying to decide, you know, what do we take out? Shieldred sucks. Liliana sucks. Cut Down sucks. Virtue sucks. Like, oh, actually, we have a pretty good sideboard against them. We have Outland Liberator. Go for a Throat sucks too. Doesn't, so we can go down to 2 copies of that one. Maybe bring a Shieldred back in. Shieldred or a Skitter. Yeah, Shieldred, doesn't matter. Yeah, Pat sounds insane against them. Yeah, it does. There's a case to be made that instead of playing 1 Path of Peril, 1 Gix's Command main deck, I should display 2 Path of Perils. Because I drew Gix's Command that game after it was Path of Peril, I would have won. So that's... For main decks, a pair of 1-ofs that are similar, they should have both been either Gix's Commands or Path of Perils, and I think they should have been Path of Perils. But... I think you want 2 Gix's Commands into 75, but I think main deck I probably should have played 2 Perils. This hand seems like okay against them. There's also some dissonance between Path of Peril and Outland Liberator. But hopefully they have to like ossify our Outland Liberator, and then we can like Path of Peril, and then we can disenchant to get the Liberator back later. So we get Frenzied Trapbreaker, which has been amazing the whole, like, of all the things that were good the weekend. I didn't want to, by the way, I didn't play Ironcrag because I didn't want this to flip. I didn't want to play 2 spells. So as you can tell, our opponent probably had wedding announcement. They have to ossify it, which is like, okay, this is part of the plan anyways, right? So play Ironcrag here. Segovia, sure. So I guess here Ironcrag was better than a land. So that's something. Again, that you have to actually click on your light total first. I gotta remember how to do that. So Ironcrag was better than a land here. It was worse than a land last game because I foolishly chose to use the ability. The flavor text on it. But it was better than a land for this game for sure. Because it let Nissa come into play with 2 more loyalty. Which means it doesn't die here. We can actually blow a Path of Peril to protect ourselves here if we wanted. There's maybe a case to be made to like just Path of Peril make a token. Or just Glissa first. Ironcrag's trigger, stop it. Stop it. We don't want that. Give me back my Frenzied Trapbreaker. Guess we can do this first, right? Might as well Path of Peril first to kill these 1/1 tramplers, because we have a second one, and both Nissa tokens and our Frenzy Trapbreaker died to Path of Peril. So we might as well do it while they're not around. Right? If they counter this, it's no big deal. Although we know they don't have a counter spell, because they definitely would have made disappear the Glissa if they had it. So we know they don't have one. I think keeping Path of Peril or using it, I think both are reasonable options. There's the problem that Path of Peril will kill Nissa tokens later on, but if Nissa's making tokens, we're probably fine anyways. So they could play Virtue, but it's obviously not going to do too much. So I guess they must be leaving open Wandering Emperor, right? If they have Wandering Emperor, it's probably better for me to just attack. And maybe, like, or not attack, rather, and just build up my board. Because clearly they could have played Virtue and didn't, so they have something. Now, them playing Iganjo is terrifying, but all they had was this, so it did nothing, and they lost. So if I had attacked with Glissa, they would have Iganjo'd it, right? Path of Peril seems like not great. Not great for them. And Nissa's just sticking around for infinite. So, I mean, even if you have Wandering Emperor here, then still not a big deal. So this is just a classic turn 5 Nissa against the enchantment deck. They can't kill it. But Outland Liberator soaked up Ossification, which Tenacious Underdog would not have done. So, hooray! Outland Liberator wins me another game. If I have Tenacious Underdog instead of Outland Liberator, they just ossify my Nissa, and I can't even come close to winning that game. King Outland Liberator win me soloing opponents again. And this is basically the ideal opener, right? Just creature, creature, creature against the token deck. Plus we actually have lands, so we can play anything we top deck. Even drew a disenchant, so like, how can we possibly lose this game? And the beginning of the end for the opponent, as Frenzied Trapbreaker is now in play, which disables like half the cards in their deck that do anything. Because they unfortunately play Steel Seraph, which maybe they didn't know what my card does, but it's not good. The answer is it's not good news for our opponent. And as you imagine, if you play Virtue or Wedding Announcement, a very similar thing is going to happen. I just enjoy Outland Liberating soloing decks. So I'm trying to figure out, like, oh yeah, if they double block with a Knight token, I can just, like, tear asunder. I get Riveteer's Outlook. Heck yeah, baby. Give me that. Give me that forest. Sweet, supple forest. Tutor all the forest out for Nissa. No big deal. Give me some cards. We decide that it is... we can bring back our Outland Liberator to kill it if we wanted. Look how much Outland Liberator did this game. Just look. Our opponent wanted to draw a card, that's why they attacked. But unfortunately, we had to disenchant to kill the winning announcement, so all they did was just throw their 2/2 directly into the graveyard. Yeah, it's like Polish Crusher soloing games. Yeah, I remember that. I actually played a lot of that. There was block constructed. Yeah. I played that on stream a lot. But yeah, just... Outland Liberator just completely defeated our opponent. Invasion of New Phyrexia, 4/2/2s, and we have the Path of Peril, which their deck seems to be incapable of defeating. So that was round 3. We're 2-1. We're not feeling bad about the tournament. Or are we 1-2? We might have been 1-2. I don't remember. We're 2-1. It says in the bottom right corner. You can't see it. It says we're 2-1. There we go. And then we're in the mirror match, which our deck is uniquely suited to defeat. We have lots of tech cards for the mirror match. How many basics are on the list? 7 or 8. Maybe 7 because I added a second Takanuma. They have Glissa, we have Virtue, we can play Riveteer's Outlook. Get that land out of our deck. Improving the quality of our draws because we have 1 fewer land in it. It's like 7 basics. They have a Tortoise. We have another Virtue. Do we draw Mosswood Dread Knight? We don't. We draw Path of Peril, which is not particularly good in the mirror match. They play the Iron Crag. They play another Tortoise. I'm sad because they get to have fun and I don't. I draw Duress. I'm like, oh, well. Guess I gotta kill this turtle while they're tapped out. Make my guy a 4/4. Attack for 4. Let's hope they have nothing else because I can't beat anything. Oh no. I forgot they had those. We are very dead. We are very super dead. Unless we draw something like a Tortoise, we are mega super dead. What do you got in your Golgari Gripson? Turns out nothing. You have nothing in your hand. And okay, chat, wait. Remember, I just duress them and they have nothing in their hand. What do you think is going to happen? What is the worst case scenario? You think Nissa? There's no way. I mean, we just duressed them and they had nothing in their hand. Why would they untap and play Nissa. Literally inconceivable. All right, well. To be fair, we probably were winning that game anyways, but it was nice that we got to witness the duress bug happening once more. So here we could take out either Gix's Command or a Liliana. They're both reasonable things to take out. I find Liliana to be horrendous. Same with Gix's Command. I think they're both equally heinous. You can play whatever you want. It's up to you. Whatever makes you happy. Like I said, the problem with both Liliana and Gix's Command is neither one of them function against the turtle. So it is you shouldn't be having cards in your deck that just auto lose if your opponent has a turtle. Because they can activate Mishra's Foundry to save their tortoise. You don't need discard on the play, so I took out the Extract the Truth instead. But this hand, while not great, is probably a mulligan on the play. On the draw, this hand's great. On the play, that hand's not where you want to be. On the play, you want like basically any hand with Monster Dreadnought is gonna be better than that hand on the play. Just a handful of answers is just not where you want to be. One of the things that I always thought, I don't have I don't have the statistics on me, right? I don't have the statistics on me to I'm pretty sure throughout Magic's history in basically every format, the person on the play is like 53 or 55% to win, right? It's like somewhere between that, right? That's just in general and like throughout all the formats. And there's always talk of like, how can you make being on the draw something that people want to be, right? Like, how can you... Giving a treasure is like what other games do. Clearly not a thing that's possible. But it's like obviously way too good to be on the draw to have a treasure. Well, one of the things I did think of was like, what if the person on the draw was just draw 8, put 1 on the bottom? That would probably even it out. I think draw 8, put 1 on the bottom is much worse than a treasure in play. And that actually makes it so you might actually want to be on the draw in some matchups, right? I mean, probably not. But in my mind, that seems to be the answer to help Magic. If you want Magic to go to the next level and just like, how do you change play draw state? That seems like to be a great answer. Do I think Dig Up would be viable in this deck? No. All right. Anyways, so we're in the mirror match, and we mulligan, and we have turn 2 Dread Knight into turn 3 Glissa. Everything's going well. So they probably have a Terminate. So I'm thinking, okay, if they have Liliana, if they have Liliana, I can just attack it with a Foundry. So I don't have to worry about Liliana now that I drew Foundry. We're good. They have Virtue. That's fine. Turtle? No turtle. All right, let's play another Glissa. What do you got for me, buddy? They clearly don't have Liliana because they would have played it there, right? I mean, they could be missing a second black, but that's pretty unlikely. What do you got for me? Bring it. Oh, is the answer nothing? It's the end. Dun dun dun. Dun 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 dun. The end. And I actually had one in my hand, but it cycled away. I'm like, oh wait, that's fine. Wait, that's fine actually. Might 22, but not as good as being on the play. You have to understand the alternative is being on the play. Unfortunately, they played a turtle, which we can't anoint, but we can Gix's Command. But turtle's not a big deal if you have a 3-power blocker, which we do. So we can just play a turtle of our own here, no big deal. We actually hit with this turtle, which is bizarre, I know. They trade a turtle for our... They trade a turtle for 2 of our mana and give us a card, which is not a good trade. So... means they probably have like a Graveyard Trespasser. Or a Nissa. But this is... looks like another horrendous play. This is a horrendous play by them because any Terminate kills the Nissa. This is just like, this is not the spot you want to play Glissa in. Their hand is air. Just a Glissa and blanks. So Glissa and blanks versus the Mighty Blossoming Tortoise. We all know who wins that one. We also have a juicy graveyard that we can Gix's Command 2 creatures. Now because we duress, we don't get to get our Mosswood Dreadnought back. So I realize, I talk about it afterwards. I'm like, oh crap, I messed up. I should not have duressed them. But it's all right. I lost my Dreadnought because the adventure went off there. So make Gix's Command, return 2 creatures, and then get back 2 creatures, so we get back our Sentinel and our Dreadnought, and we just like play the Dreadnought. We also mistap our mana to take a damage here because we're a big dum-dum. No big deal. Taking damage for free is no big deal. I think it was actually probably a good idea to just play Dreadnought as a chump blocker there. I drew Go for the Throat. Now we're somewhat in trouble here if our opponent decides to remember that they can animate their creature land in response to Shieldred. We're going to plan on them not doing that. And it looks like they don't even have the mana open to do that. So that's good news. So what we can do here is we can actually Go for their Throat, the Mosswood Dreadnought. It goes into the graveyard. We play Sentinel for maximum value! Getting back our Dreadnought, getting rid of their Virtue, getting rid of their Dreadnought in their graveyard. So that is what we're considering is how we do maximum value here. Well, we could also just go for the Throat the Glissa and just let them have the Dreadnought. But we are relatively low on life total. But we just let them have the Dreadnought. Let's let them have it. Dreadnought, we'll deal with it. We'll deal with Dreadnought later. We can also display this into Shieldred. That's also a good line. I didn't even think about this one. a reasonable line here. Because they have 8 cards in their graveyard, so we can actually ultimate the Shieldred. So it's an on-board Terminator. I was concerned about them top decking Glissa, which is why I played Shieldred. Which makes sense. So we could ultimate Shieldred here. Kill their Glissa. Tranquil Frillback has a 3-mana 3/3. Bam. Trained Armadon. I think Tranquil Frillback is horrendous. The default green blacklist runs 3 of them. I think Outland Liberator is a way better card. And it's so good you should main deck it and just not sideboard 3 Tranquil Frillbacks. I have 1 in my sideboard and it's like okay as a 1-of. But I think in general it's just a horrendous card. Like, your deck doesn't need more 4-drops. Turns out, your deck doesn't need more 4-drops. The deck has plenty already. But yeah, we have to decide here, like, how to best utilize our Sentinel of Lost Lore. We're relatively low on life totals. I know we have a Tranquil Frillback in our hand. It's bad. You can see the Tranquil Frillback in our hand is clearly bad. We don't even want to exile their graveyard because it turns off our Shieldred. But yeah, we use... I didn't return my Monster Dreadnought because I'm just going to play it as a 3/2. Jump block. We rend minus for a land, right? We'd rend minus for a land. Or we just rend minus for a permanent and then Sentinel plus Dreadnought. So 3 + 2 + 3. And the rend was also good because it made it so we didn't take any damage from our 2 Lawnmower Waste. Because we needed 5 green and we only had 3, so we would have taken 2 damage if it wasn't for Ren. So on board we go to 2, right? Yeah. So if it hadn't been for Ren, we would have actually been dead here. We couldn't have made this play. So here we take 5 and go to 2. A precarious life total, but we have 4 life on board here. So not too bad. We have unfortunately not drawn any of the green-black creature land, which is obviously very good with Ren. If you're not familiar with how Ren works and the creature lands work, the activation is independent of the attack trigger, so you can actually just attack and get a food if Ren animates the green-black land. But anyways, gonna gain 4 life here. Disenchanting a food obviously doesn't work. They have mana open. Five rounds left, if you're wondering. We play 9 rounds of this tournament. Although the other rounds aren't nearly as long as these. So I think this is probably the longest round left. The rest of them are relatively fast. We are playing at multi-X speed. So our opponent was defeated. More sideboarding. I just like rearrange my cards. I don't actually change. I changed some cards on the draw. I put an Extract the Truth on the draw. Take out the Gis's Command. I think Gis's Command is just too heinous on the draw. It's like pretty bad in the matchup already because it's so bad against Turtle. But so they don't have a 2-drop. No Mosswood Dreadnought means we're in good shape. So let's pill for them, see what they got going on. And their hand is complete blanks. I care so little for Shieldred. I just take the Graveyard Trespasser Well, I could take the Graveyard Trespasser. Or I could just ignore it. I mean, that's also an option. Their hand is nothing. Shieldred is unplayable, and so is the end. Attack for 2. Received. Loud and clear. Now we also drew another discard spell, which so we can take their Shieldred to be even less concerned with what they have left. They're now on nothing. Do you think our hand is capable of defeating an opponent who has nothing in their hand? We could Takanuma, but there's nothing there. We need a 5th line anyways, so. I don't want to play Nissa here because it'll just die to a Terminate. I'd rather have Nissa be 6 loyalties so Terminates don't kill her. Plus, they already have at the end in their hand, so whatever I play it, it's not going to do much, right? And this is the play that costs our opponent the game. They're antsy, they're not patient, and they let me time walk them and destroy their land, which leaves them to be completely unable to come back for the rest of the game. They were horribly, incredibly impatient. The Takanuma could be anything, even a turtle. Agreed. But yeah, at this point, I just beat them with what I have on board. They can't win anymore. Because I have Restless Cottage, and I have a Phyrexian token. So even if they end the Nissa, I can just attack them and they're dead. This is just a case of my opponent, like, not willing to be patient. They don't attack with a cottage there, I'm actually in trouble, right? Is they can, like, end a turn Nissa, like, the end my Nissa, untap, Geese's command my token away, and I'm left with nothing, and they have 2 more spells in their hand. And 6 lands in play, so they can play 2 spells a turn. But now they're down to 5 lands, and they're never going to be able to do anything. They may not. They have to know that the end hits planeswalkers. I don't think. I think our opponent just chucked it directly into the graveyard. Unwilling to be patient. Yeah, just until from the creature land attack. Yeah. Yeah, I mean they hit Nissa eventually, right? And now you've seen he seemed happy Darkest Mage up to this point. We're 3-1. We're feeling good about our deck. Yeah. Yeah. The wheels may have fallen off. The rest of them, our opponent mulligans to 4. So, I don't know. I would basically never mulligan below 5. I don't know what they had. But I suspect their win rate when they mulligan to 4 is very low. I would expect it to be low. I'm mentally channeling not like this energy. I'm like, they're gonna go like land Tortoise, and they're gonna go like land Nissa, and I'm just gonna lose. I'm like, oh wait, no, I'm fine. All right, reset, we're fine. We can do this. We can figure it out. We have the technology. I'm thinking like their hand might be land Nissa, so like I could plus to get rid of the land, maybe the top deck land to get Nissa. They want to spend their turn 5 doing this. I think we're okay with that. Oh, there's time for that later, Agent Stripes. Trust. There's more time for that later. Enemy is empty-handed. Obviously, enemy being empty-handed, it's not going to go well for them on a mulligan to 4. They even top deck Nissa. And they have a problem casting it like I do as well. It's really hard to cast a Nissa on MTGO. Really, really hard. But we have Shieldred to kill Nissa. I have the mirror match to figure it out, if you're wondering. I think I'm undefeated in the mirror match over the whole weekend. When you're playing an unplayable deck, you gotta think, what if other people would get conned into playing this deck? How do I beat them? The answer is Shieldred 5. Shieldred 5 and main deck Terra Sunder. Our opponent's probably pretty frustrated from mulliganing to 5 or mulliganing to 4, so they just keep on like pounding into Dread Knights and letting me draw 2 cards a turn, so it does not end well for them, as you might imagine. That's another secret text of Mosswood Dread Knight, is your opponent cannot attack on the ground, and it also has unblockable. It's a really elegant card design, actually. I'm a huge fan of it. Mosswood Dread Knight, which is why I played this deck. I don't think it's actually particularly good, but I do like how elegant, how it actually plays so differently than how it reads. The fact that it actually just moats your opponent and is unblockable isn't actually on the card, right? That's not what the text of the card says, but that's actually how it plays out. Yeah, I do the typical sideboarding of all the low mana value cards, take out the high mana value cards, except for Nissa. Shieldred reminding me that, like, wait, why are you in the deck again? You never do anything. Oracle Moldiah energy? Yeah, a little bit of that. Oracle Moldiah is my favorite Magic card. Oracle Moldiah is, like, very similar in how it has secret text. But our opponent has a Liliana on the play, which is, you know, one of the ways we can lose. So if they can just ride this out, we might be, even if they play a Nissa here, we're probably pretty doomed. I just looked at the top 32 of this event and apparently we made poor deck decisions. Yeah, I mean, it's probably pretty insane to not play a standard deck with that doesn't have Rafine or Atraxa in it, right? Like, you're just asking for trouble if you're not playing the 2 best cards in the format. Cards that should have been banned but aren't. Yeah, of course we pitch Shieldred. Unfortunately, our opponents seem to have like Liliana and nothing. Liliana and Liliana. which is, you know, maybe not it's all it's cracked up to be. That's why I generally board out Liliana in the mirror match, because it doesn't do anything. Like, if you need something else to win the game with Liliana, then Liliana sounds like it's not doing anything. Then it could be like any other card, like a card that wins the game. Like, yeah, Liliana is great if you just followed up with like Tortoise into Shieldred. Like, wait, it sounds like you're winning games with Tortoise and Shieldred, and Liliana has nothing to do with it. But hey, what do I know? So it's clear they didn't use Liliana this turn, so I knew they had to go for a throat in their hand. So I can just like I'm praying I can just prage that they don't know they can sack Mishra's Foundry if I play Shieldred, or I can just attack it with Ren. So I decide to just play Ren and then play my thing afterwards, and I get a food token this way too, which is neat. The red of the sideboard has been really good. I've really enjoyed it. It performed admirably. Ren's like a good fair card. It's like a good Phyrexian Arena. Now the food token is not part of the activated ability. If you just animate it anyway, you get the token. That's why the creature lands are so insane and limited. Because you can animate them with Brave the Wilds. Like, even if you're a green-black deck, if you open the red-white creature land, you should probably just take it and play it. Limited. I wasn't going to attack with the creature land anyway, so. Another fool defeated. So now we're 4-1. We're 4-1. Feeling good about our deck. Maybe we'll play another mirror match. And I'm like, well, the hand doesn't do anything. Any hand with Monster Dreadnought's better. This hand's way better. So, what do you think happens in this game? What sort of terrible thing happens to me? From now on, can you just imagine the worst case scenario? Because that's what happens to me every game for the rest of the tournament. Ah, yes, turn 1 Jetmir Garden and dead. I really enjoy playing a deck where I know I've lost the match from the very first land drop. Yeah! Yeah! All right. Why did you slam Liberator? Because we needed untapped land, right? Our options were like play Restless Cottage or play Dread Whispers looking for an untapped land. No way it's Invasion plays Leyline. Of course not. Just go for a throat into Angel into a Traxo. Like, come on. Get with the program. Like, come on. You're not thinking the worst case scenario often enough. You need to think worse. What is the worst thing that could happen? Think of worse. The only way they play Archangel here is because they have Atraxa in their hand, so we're completely screwed. They're gonna attack Liliana anyways, so might as well kill it. Doomed. Our opponent takes a long time considering what way to best win this game. We can just dress them to see what's cracking. And was this winnable? Of course not. They just have another Atraxa. Alright, so we have our sideboard plan against ramp. Take out the removal spells, bring in all the things in our removal spells. Our breach the multiverse is the big plan. Our plan is to turn 6 breach the multiverse. Post sideboard. Can we pull it off? Need to change that shortcut so people stop asking. Basically the ideal draw outside of, not having a second green or having breach the multiverse or turtle. The usual ideal draw of it not actually being ideal. But reasonable. Can Lord Skitter run away with this game? Can it? Oh, baby. Can we draw another green? Green? Oh, yeah. GG. Nissa minus. Get back Lord Skitter. How can we possibly lose? I think we actually punt this game. Yeah, we punted this. This is the one game this is actually the one time in the tournament where I made I think I made a player error. I kill out the Beanstalk because I'm thinking I'd rather the Lord Skitter's not going to do much if they play Angel. So. Which was maybe a mistake. Retrospect, I maybe should have gotten back the Lord Skitter there. I could go for a throw at the Angel, so maybe I shouldn't have been. The thing is, the Angel kills the Nissa, right? So it's actually possible we should have Nissa plussed there. That would have been probably the best line. I think I just made egregious players. I think that turn was a huge player there. I should have minused on the ley line, or I should have plussed it. I think I made the worst case scenario. I think I just made the worst play possible. But I was concerned about them having another ley line binding, which is why I minused it on the Beanstalk. But it's like, I don't know. You're just not beating that game anyway, so. And of course, this Tortoise, do you think it hits? Of course not. So if I just played Shieldred there, I'd probably win this game. Yeah, Sunfall was also scary. That Sunfall draw card. That was kind of my concern. If I minused on the Lord Skitter, then they can just like untap Sunfall, draw card. I'm in a bad spot, right? But they didn't have double white. So I shouldn't have been concerned about Sunfall at all. And I should have gotten back Lord Skitter or plussed it. So here I play Tortoise instead of Shieldred. I don't know why. Well, basically, I thought that there's no way Tortoise will miss, right? That's the actual reasoning is Tortoise does 6 damage just like Shieldred does. It's like an attack with Foundry, but also just like draws lands, right? But there's two problems with that. First is that they have a 4/4 in play to block the Blossoming Tortoise. And second of all, I'm missing damage if I brick on Tortoise. Like if I play Tortoise and don't hit a land, I lose on the spot, which is what happened. Plus Tortoise is actually bad if they just play Herd Migration there. So here I go pretty deep in the tank. And I figure out, okay, I can actually beat them around life gain. I can minus on the Lord Skitter, get a token. Play Ren, plus on a land, attack with the land. After attackers, go for throw the Atraxa. Right, and they end up going to like 5, I think. But this basically, if I had just played Shieldred last turn, the game is over. I would have already won. But because I didn't play Shieldred and I missed on Tortoise. So the problem here is twofold. First of all, they can block the Tortoise. Second of all, the Topiary Stomper can attack back on our Planeswalker. It's just, and you see they're at 5 life. If that Blossoming Tortoise had just been a Shieldred, they'd be dead. They would have had a chump block. And be at 1 life. Instead, I lose my Nissa. They untap and play Herd Migration, and I don't have the damage. I lose. I also know they have a Leyline Binding in their hand, so that doesn't help. I might have still lost this game anyway, because I think they had a Sunfall. I would have had a Nissa versus their Sunfall. They could have like Leyline Binding. I don't think they had a white though. They might have gotten to Mirrex. They didn't have the white though. I think if I just play Shieldred instead of Blossoming Tortoise, I win this game. Unfortunately. I think if I play Tortoise and hit, I'm fine. But I played Tortoise and missed, so I lost. The one time Shieldred would have done anything the whole tournament. And then we're against Mono Red in round 7. That sounds like reasonable against Mono Red. We have like Virtue into Glissa into Liliana, and they're stuck on 1 mana, right? How can we possibly lose this game? End of turn shock you. I'm like, okay, whatever, this game's over. Then a Lightning Strike, still whatever, who cares? I actually meant to play Glissa or Liliana minus, not Liliana do nothing, if you're wondering. I was commenting on like, wait, what just happened? So there was a mechanical play error here. I actually just like IRL misclicked and F6'd. Yeah, it was bad. I was so frustrated from having, I think in between rounds I had just lost the arena round 6, so I went 4-2 and I lost that one, and it was just on life tilt. Liliana still wasn't even bad there. I gained 3 life. Could obviously be better. Still a perfectly winnable game. And, as expected, it was a winnable game as the game was over. It's great to make errors that don't matter. Yeah, we board out all of our late drops. I think we can cut down to like 1 or 2 turtles. We need something to win with, but you don't really need much. Your win condition in this matchup is you attack with your green-black creature land. That's all you need to do. So, well, if you're in a position where you can do that, then they've lost because you're getting 3 life return for the rest of the game. This hand's like pretty good. So I have a decision to make this turn. I can turn 1 duress, or turn 1 leave it open, cut down, or play Restless Cottage. There's advantages and disadvantages to all those plays. The thing with playing turn 1 Kumano is the only card that I can't cut down is Bloodthirsty Adversary and Feldon, right? They have 1 Feldon and 4 Bloodthirsty Adversaries. They have 4 Charming Scoundrels and like some Phoenix Chicks and some. In theory, we could cut down the Monastery Swisspear, right? Pretty unlikely, but it could be done. So it's a coin flip whether Leave Open cut down on turn 1 even matters. And we don't need to duress anything. But I decided to leave open cut down because there's it's a 50% chance they have Charming Scoundrel as their 2-drop. I end up getting pretty punished by it. As I black hole a mana. And I have this Ironcrag in a tap land, so I'm never able to. I would have been able to Ironcrag plus 2-drop this turn. But we probably lose this game anyways, because we can't beat the Fire-Breathing Dragon. But it is something to consider, that we just had no hope this game. That hand looked so good, right? And we just got absolutely blasted. Like this hand, this opener hand. Look at this opening hand. This hand doesn't even look bad, right? We just lost turn 3. Cut down just isn't actually good against the red deck. And I probably needed to play turn 1 Restless Cottage. So I can go turn 1 Duress plus cut down. And then maybe turn 3 play Ironcrag plus Dread Knight. Right? But yeah, it doesn't matter how we would have lined up. We could have never killed the Godric. So. It would be completely crazy. The only way we could have played this game any different is what we play. What can we possibly do that's any different? I mean, obviously we should have played turn 1 Cottage. Even if we played turn 1 Cottage, what can we do any different? It's turn 2 Maso Dread Knight, right? That's the only play we could have made. Which would have been correct, right? Cottage into Dread Knight. I would have drawn the Scorn and then Scorn and cut down the thing, and I would have won this game, right? So that was what we should have done. So basically, against mono red, your plan is be able to kill a Godric. And that was what we didn't do. We used our removal spell on a creature that wasn't a Godric, and we lost. So that's how we could have won with this hand, which is like completely contrary to what my default gameplay pattern would have been. Like, you would think your default gameplay pattern would be like turn 1 cut down, turn 2 like duress plus tap land, turn 3 like Iron Crag plus Dread Knight or whatever. But that's just like, I chose the exact line that loses to my opponent's hand. And loses, I think it's just a strictly worse play. I should have played turn 1 Cottage. Because like I said, I'm only 50% to be able to cut down turn 1. And if they have a choice, they're always going to play the Bloodthirsty Adversary. Right? They're never going to play Charm Scoundrel over the Adversary. Because I have a Swamp open, of course they're going to play around cut down. So I chucked this game directly into the graveyard. Okay. And then here, I'm on the play. I'm like, yeah, this hand's great on the play, right? Well, I don't know about great. It's all we have to do is draw 2 lands, and we probably can't lose this, right? Right? I turn 2, draw a card, looking for a land. I want to like go for a third or anoint their like 3-drop anyway. So what do you think is going to happen this game, chat? Do you think I will ever draw a land? Do you think we will ever draw a land? I even have Path of Peril in my hand. All right, good drew Path of Peril. So now what do you think is going to happen? So they have nothing. To be clear, they have nothing in hand. So what do you think is going to happen? Well, they can just rebuy the squee, unfortunately. Which I think all 3 of those games were winnable. I think if instead of using Mosswood Dread Knight that one on turn 2, if I left open a Terminate, because I had so many Terminates in my hand, if I just go for the third of their 2-drop, I could have Dread Knighted the next turn, or I could have just left open Terminate again and then terminated a 3-drop, and I could have like left open Terminate again. Like, I don't think I had to Dread Knight on turn 2. Let's return to that. It's right here. Like, what is the play? Turn 2 here. We have 3 Terminates and a Duress. Like, what is the play? Do I terminate their 2-drop? And if I brick, like, terminate their 3-drop, and if I brick, terminate their creature again, and then if I brick, then I do it there. That seems to be the right answer, right? Because the problem now is, like, now that I committed to the Dread Whisper plan, if I don't draw a land, I'm taking an extra 2 damage for the rest of the game every turn. Because I'm 1 turn behind on killing their biggest creature. But I think I still lose this game, right? Even if I don't do this turn 2, I think I still lose. I would have drawn Go for the Throat this turn. And I would have definitely pulled the trigger this turn. So I don't think it mattered. Because I would have probably wanted to duress like a Koth or a Jaya, right? Or a Witchstalker's Frenzy or whatever. I would have 100% pulled the trigger that turn looking for a land. So we lose that one. So we're 4-3. And against Recruitment Officer, they're either mono white or white blue soldiers, right? Seems like we have a reasonable hand against that. Maybe they're mono white, so we need to like do this, looking for a way to kill Adeline. With the Mirex, I'm like, okay, actually they're white blue. Weird. Okay, I'm just gonna Night Errant, I'm dead. But maybe they continue to be mana screwed. Maybe that's it. It's like, okay, now they're white blue. I know that they're white blue. This is winnable. They just need to not draw. They're clearly mana screwed, right? So gotta be careful not to take a damage for no reason. And look at their hand. Their hand is Lunarch Veteran, Regal Bunnycorn, and 2 blue cards. So again, chat. You duress your opponent. You see that they have nothing. What do you think they're going to draw? If you guessed Blue Source untapped, you are correct. Because what is the worst thing that could happen? It always happens. And dead. Because that's what this soldier deck really excels at, is it has Zephyr Sentinels to reset the Knight Errants. So once you get this going, there's no going back. And then we get run over by bunnies. Just like ravenous, unstoppable bunny is. Too many bunnies? Yeah. Not great. So we board in some sweepers. Obviously, we don't want to breach the multiverses. Your win condition against white blue is like you just attack with Glissa, and if it ever goes through unchecked, you probably already won the game. So you can cut down on some of the late drops. Children and Nissa are obviously pretty bad against a flying horde of soldiers. This hand is obviously doesn't do a whole lot, but you're on the play and you can like maybe turn 3 Glissa, turn 5 Giss's Command. It's like a reasonable keep. So we have to draw a forest though. And of course our duress misses. And will we draw a land? Very interesting. Yeah, also they drew wedding announcement after I had arrested them because, of course, why wouldn't you? Yeah. I knew I was dead when they didn't even bounce the Lunark Veteran. Although I guess it only gets the counter if it bounces a soldier, right? So yeah, we were just. Yep. Yep. Like, all right, we can do this. And what do you have? Oh, big disappear. None of those cards were in your hand when I had to rest you. A quick match. So now we're playing for min prize. We're on the play. We're on the play and we mulliganed. I'm like, okay, we're in the 4 and 4 bracket. We're playing for top 64 prize, which is 20, like, it's like 10 chest and 20 play points or something. All right, can we hit? Boom! All right, so they have 2 resolute reinforcements. So what do you think they're going to draw? It's a guessing game. What do you think is going to happen? I could have played Liliana here, or I could just pass and say go, because I can like save Liliana to like maybe be used after Pathet Barrel. So I'm hoping to just draw an untapped green here. Can we draw an untapped green? They draw Lunark Veteran. Okay. Then draw an untapped green, but we drew Glissa, right? Can't lose. Okay. The Werefox Bodyguard. And not untapped grid. All right, I'm at 9. What's the worst that could happen? Oh dear. Shieldred is here. Finally, is it Shieldred's time to shine? Is it? Is it finally Shieldred one time? Damn it. Oh look, Shieldred's not gonna do it. I'm like, we got Ripped Here's Outlook? But no, we're dead on board. Damn. Oh, Shieldred. Oh, Shieldred. It turns out if I just played Liliana on turn 3, just to gain 3 life, I would have won this game. That's something to consider. It's something I hadn't thought of. Now that I see it in retrospect. I could have played Liliana on turn 3 instead of black holing 3 mana. Just to gain 3 life. Something to think about. Was I would have killed a 1/1 and they attacked it, that would have been 3 life. I bring out the Gix's commands and the Path of Perils. So your win condition is just Glissa like it is in most creature matchups. Decks that are low on removal, all you have to do is land the Glissa, and if it connects, you're probably gonna win. So you don't really need Nisses or Shieldreds. Obviously, Shieldred's pretty bad against Resolute Reinforcements and Lunarch Veterans, so you don't want that one in your deck either. The goal is basically to kill the Knight Errant on site so they can't bounce it, right? They can't bounce up the Zephyr Sentinel. And then like use your sweepers so that they can't kill you with Harbin in 1 turn, right? Or like play it and attack with 5 soldiers. I think our opponent was like double queuing, so they were like AFK'd for. Look at their timer; it's down to 13 minutes. I have like 22 minutes to the 13. They AFK'd for like almost 12 minutes. Turn to Harbin. I learned my lesson against these decks. I think I Path of Peril here, so they can't just convoke out that 4/4. Will the Blossoming Tortoise hit? I swear to you, I think I was, what was I? 4 out of 8 hits on this stupid tortoise. I'm telling you, it's 85% to hit, and I think I was 50% over the tournament. At least they only hit Lunarch Veteran out this Knight Errant of EOS, so we got a shot, right? Draw a card, see what we get. Foundry's pretty good. I'm like, there's no possible way the tortoise misses this time, right? And it didn't. They have 2 fortified beachheads, too. Takaji's Welcome is one of the enchantments they always bring in against you. That's why you need Glissa so badly. Like, Glissa into Gix's Command or Path of Peril to attack and kill the enchantment. That is your win condition in this matchup. I end up having 5 sweepers, 2 Gix's Commands, and 3 Path of Perils. Plus, I've got Tranquil Fuel back to disenchant it, right? So. Keep going, Tortoise. I believe in you. I believe in you, buddy. Trust. So I actually made a mistake here. I knew they had Zephyr Sentinel. So I should have actually just destroyed Outland Liberator on the Takaji's Welcome, because when I sacked to blow it up, they could have responded with Zephyr Sentinel. I should have just done it when they were tapped out. That was stupid. I'm like, well, I need to draw. I'm looking at my graveyard. I'm like, okay, well, there's 4 sweepers in my deck. I haven't missed. I'm gonna hit one right this turn, right? I think that's actually what I say. What do I say here? As expected. As expected to draw lands. Drawing lots of lands. I do a lot of whining and complaining, which is why I put myself on mute. You don't want to hear me. Let's see. What do I do here? I just attack and do they block? I don't think they block, right? Oh, they have Iganjo, right? So I look at my graveyard and I notice that I didn't mill any sweepers. So that means there were 4 sweepers in my deck. Unfortunately for them, Lunarch Veteran is not a soldier. You draw a sweeper this turn or we're dead. Yeah, when you draw a sweeper this turn, we're dead. That's what I think I say. Anyways, I'm gonna mute myself because I'm a negative Nancy in this one. And bam. So clearly, I knew we were gonna hit. I'm excited. I'm playing for min prize, to be clear. So you can tell I'm really excited about this. Looking at my graveyard, what kind of great cards we have in there. Great, delicious graveyard, courtesy of Blossoming Tortoise. I know their one card in hand is Zephyr Sentinel. So I'm trying to do the math here. So here's the thing, right? I play Gix's Command. They respond with Zephyr Sentinel returning Resolute Reinforcements. So they have a 3/2 and a 3/2 in the air, and they can replay the reinforcements, right? So that means they have 4 soldiers. So if they draw another soldier, or they can actually just activate Beachhead, attack me for 8, and I go to 5. So I'm trying to figure out, I actually need to Gix's Command, kill all things that cost 2 or less, and then activate Cottage and attack and remove one of the veterans to get a food token. I do the math and this is how it works out. I can do that, or I can play Blossoming Tortoise, which allows me to hit with 2 creature lands next turn and gain 6 life. So I think I actually return 2 creature lands, gain 6 life, 2 creature lands, or Blossoming Tortoise, play Blossoming Tortoise, and attack, is what I think I do here. Pretty sure that's correct. Any other line means I'm exact lethal because they can return the 2 Lunarch Veterans as flyers next turn. So they attack for 6 this turn, and then they attack for 10 the following turn. So I need to activate Restless Cottage twice. So I have to get back Tortoise and play it. And I might as well get back Sentinel, because if I draw the Virtue, the Black Virtue, then I went on the spot. Or I can get Outline Liberator in the case they draw to Cage's Welcome, a Wedding Announcement. Those are both good options. So I take the Outline Liberator in case they draw to Cage's Welcome. I could Sentinel their graveyard. The problem with it, if I Sentinel their graveyard, is they have fortified beaches. They just attack me for 8 and I lose. Because they attack me for 8 twice. And I'm at 13. So if I play Sentinel here, I actually lose. If I play Sentinel to exile their Lunarch. I have to play Tortoise to be able to activate 2 cottages the next turn. I think I also have to draw a land, unless I get the fetch land. The other out I have is I mill into the fetch land with Blossoming Tortoise. I can't attack with Tranquil Fillback, otherwise I'm dead. So they end up drawing Takayashi's Welcome, which makes my Outland Liberator look pretty good. But they made a critical error here. And they don't flash back the second Lunarch Veteran, which means I'm exactly alive. They have 15 damage and I'm at 16. But I draw cut down, so it doesn't matter. They're thinking that they want to keep the veteran in the graveyard because they want to flash it back next turn, but I'm going to eat it with Cottage anyway, so they should have flashed it back. But now that I drew cut down and they didn't flash back the veteran, that means I can eat their veteran, play Outline Liberator, sack it on the Welcome, and cut down their Harbin, and have enough fruit for exactly food and activate. They drew Elspeth Smite as their card. Not a big deal. People board that in against green-black a lot. For Mosswood, Dreadnought, Turtle, and Glissa. I can see it, but I don't know. Leaving open on mana is hard for that deck. And I have Duresses anyway. So as you can see here, I can activate my Mishra's Foundry to block and still gain 3 life with my food token. They decide to concede because they are dead. Green-black creature land is essentially like a 4/4 lifelinker. And so when your opponent ever misses a step, the door slams shut very fast. Not a good hand, but it has a sweeper. So now we have a card advantage engine. So it's definitely not a good hand. And now we have a second sweeper. So now we're sitting, I think, pretty okay. If pre-combat they play a 1-drop, I actually respond by killing the Resolute Reinforcements. They miss a 3rd land drop, so I just duress them. And they have a counterspell and 3 enchantments. I'm like, well, what is the worst thing that could happen? Can anyone guess? Can anyone guess what is going to happen? I'm like, well, I can't beat Protected Negotiators, so I guess I'd make... my only hope is they don't draw a land. So... So, yeah. Oh. Yeah. Well, I don't know if they have any tap lands in their deck, actually, but... sigh. But we have the Wombo combo of Tortoise and Gix's Command. Boom! Get out of here. Tortoise ain't playing around. How persistent. And now we get to see the combo. I think the first time in either tournament it happened, right? we could Sentinel it back and replay it. Ding, ding, ding. We also get to exile their veteran. The full package. Looks like they didn't draw another creature, so they had to Mirrex token main phase to draw a card. And they couldn't handle the tortoise. Turtle power. Power. But that's the whole tournament. So I ended up going 5-4 in the standard challenge and 4-2 in the mythic challenge. The mythic. So, and the deck for that was Darkest Genius. So this was the deck list. I guess I kind of wouldn't recommend it. Like, I think the tournament results kind of speak for themselves. I think you are a 40-60 dog. Maybe 40, maybe like 43, 44, 56, like dog to domain control. And you're probably like a 50, 46, 50, 54 dog against Esper midrange. And I think you beat everything else. But being a dog to the two best decks in the format is probably probably not where you want to be. I think if Rafine and Atraxa did not exist, this would be the best deck. Unfortunately, those two cards exist, making this deck not good enough. As far as recommendations going forward, I don't really have any. I think my choices, I think Outline Liberator was great. I think the main deck is actually tuned and good. And my sideboard, I use like every card in the sideboard. I think the Breach the Multiverse plan is the best plan against ramp. And I think my sideboard is really well tuned. I didn't draw the Pithy Needle ever, but I would have liked it every time I boarded it in. Notable exclusions are Tenacious Underdog. That card is unplayable. Graveyard Trespasser. I never wanted it. I think Sentinel's much better. I think the mana base is good. I think Ironcrag is probably the worst card in the deck. Ironcrag can be like a 27th land, but I think it's more likely it just needs to be like a main deck Path of Peril or another cut down or like maybe another cut down. Probably the better to call. Either another cut down or like against his command. I think the Ironcrag, like, it won me one game and like lost me one game, and I activated its ability to become my equipment one game and lost me that game, but that wasn't its fault. That was a user error. So the Lilianas were like pretty bad in every matchup. Yeah. So then maybe the Lilianas you should go down to like either 1 or 0 Lilianas. Those are the two worst cards in the deck. Maybe you just main deck Pilfer. Like what? Maybe you just main deck like 3 Pilfers. Maybe. I don't know. I don't have a good answer for you. There's no like single card you could be playing to fix those two matchups, Esper and Domain. You just like your deck is fundamentally flawed against them. So you're never gonna beat them. You're always gonna be a dog. But yeah, these are definitely the two worst cards in the deck, and I would endeavor to replace them with absolutely anything. Liliana is bad against mono red, bad against soldiers, bad against Esper. It's only okay against Domain. It's not actually good. It's only okay against them. Yeah. It's terrible in the mirror. You know, you minus, and it doesn't even kill Tortoise if they have a mana to activate Foundry. It only costs 1 mana to activate Foundry. You know, it doesn't. It's not good against Dread Knight. It's not good against Lord Skitter. It's not good. The answer is Ileana's not good. Now there are some versions of this deck that add a blue. Edict doesn't. Edict. I did not lose any game to Planeswalkers. Edict would not have done anything. There are versions. If there was a way forward, the actual answer would probably be adding a third color to the deck. The mana is good enough to support it. You're playing a bunch of basics. The basics could just all be dual lands. You could add blue for Disdainful Stroke, and that would help against the ramp matchup. You can add red for, like, there's a couple red cards. There's you can go Blossoming Tortoise combo. It's like something to consider. There's a version of this deck that I saw that looked really interesting, where you have Agatha's Soul Cauldron, Misery's Shadow with Blossoming Tortoise for that combo with your lands to make them infinite power. There's Voldaren Thrillseeker to throw them. Right, so you're like a combo deck, a creature-based combo deck with Agatha's Soul Cauldron, but you're also just like a mid-rangey soup pile, right? Because you've got Tortoises, you've got Blood Tithe Harvesters, you've got Voldaren Thrillseekers, you got Mosswood Dread Knights, you got Glissa, right? So like you're just like a mid-range like soup, but you also have this like combo kill element to it that goes maybe over the top. It also has like main deck Outline Liberator, so you can like stop leyline bindings. Right, so like that's a potential thing. Like you cut a lot of the top end and you just like put more like mid-range soup stuff in, like creatures instead of the removal spells. There's white. There's a version I had with white that looked like pretty interesting. Where I had white for Elishnorn, and not only Elishnorn, but the white part of Path of Peril, which was actually super awesome. Just like being able to just main deck rats. Like, oh, wow, this is what it feels like. And plus you get the white-black creature lane, which is actually great with the Tortoise and great with Ren. So that, like, this was something to consider. You can, like, and you go up to 4 Duresses, so, like, you Duress away their Sunfalls and you play Elishnorn and they can't win. None of their cards do anything. Right? And Elishnorn can duplicate your Shieldred and your Blossoming Tortoise, which is kind of cool. Something to consider. I ended up not having enough time to test it. But yeah, there's also blue. I know some other popular streamers out there may have played blue for Invasion of Amonkhet. That deck looked pretty rough around the edges. So I would think that is probably not the game plan, but yeah, there's lots of decks I considered. I thought I was gonna play Cauldron, the Sultai Cauldron deck, leading up to these 2 tournaments. I tested this. I got to Mythic playing this deck. But then when I got to Mythic, I lost like 6 in a row. And I'm just like, oh wait, no, this deck is unplayable. So this deck is like 2 good cards away from being tier 1. This deck does beat like Domain. No, Denek is not a problem actually. Everybody who doesn't know anything always says that. Yes, Denek deactivates your Agatha's Soul Cauldron. But all you do is you either Otawara it or you Sky Turtle it into turn and you untap and win. I also had main deck either Witness Protection or Urtai. The 2 blue-black Urtai to kill it. deck is not the problem. But yeah, the problem with this deck is that I just auto lost to like 6 aggro decks in a row. Like mono red and like white blue soldiers and mono white, you don't have a chance. This deck is really good against domain and like actually pretty good against Esper and like really good against green black. But you lose to everything else. And like you lose badly. Like the games aren't even close. They're not even competitive. So I think that's Sultide. Like basically, like it has like 5 open slots, and Vohar sucks. So the win condition is really good. The 2 win conditions of like Slogurk and Titania, those are really good win conditions. But the rest of the deck sucks. So but I ran way over than what I thought here. That was almost 3 hours, 44 minutes to go over a retrospective of a 15-round tournament. 15 rounds, 2 tournaments. So thanks everybody for sticking around for so long. Don't forget to drop me a follow if you're on Twitch, or subscribe if you're on YouTube. And you can go to my Untapped profile, which is, if you want the deck list, you can find it there. And thanks everybody for tuning in. This is Michael Jacob at twitch.tv/Douglas_Mage. Have a good night.